There are many different styles of muscle cars and classics, and many different ways to modify them. And along with those comes different labels to describe how these cars have been modified. And recently, we've been seeing a lot of terms being used interchangeably that might not be accurate as far as how they're actually describing the car. So today we're going to focus on a couple of very popular terms, Pro Touring and Resto Mod. And what are these terms? What do they mean? And how do you determine which category your modified muscle car falls into? Watch and find out. The terms Pro Touring and Resto Mod both have legitimate meaning. The Pro Touring term has a lineage that goes back to performance touring cars, mostly European, late 60s, early 70s era, and they continue all the way through today. The high performance cars are called Grand Touring cars, and some of the basic requirements of a Grand Touring car is that they are powerful, they are comfortable for high-speed, long-duration cruising across many highways and countrysides. They have high-performance braking systems. They're very comfortable. They have creature comforts inside, and they're generally two-seat, two doors, or maybe four-seater, two-door cars. Kind of a sports car, but a luxury sports car. The Pro Touring term came about in the mid-1990s, and it was coined by a GM engineer named Mark Stielow and a magazine editor named Jeff Smith. And Stielow is widely regarded as kind of the grandfather of Pro Touring, if you will, because his goal was to build a 1969 Chevrolet Camaro that embodied those characteristics of a fine Grand Touring car, but still kept the look of that 1969 Chevrolet Camaro. So by incorporating a powerful V8, high-performance suspension that cornered and handled the road far better than the stock original 69 Chevrolet suspension, utilizing bigger, more modern tires with lower sidewall and wider contact patches, high-performance wheels that were almost racing wheels that had a specific appearance, not just for the look, but for the strength and performance of a high-performance road wheel, plus incorporating some of those creature comforts inside to be able to be behind the wheel for a long time, and you have this new form of touring car. So it wasn't really a touring car technically, so he called it a Pro Touring car, meaning it was built from something to look like something else. The Pro prefix does have a history in muscle cars with respect to a type of car called Pro Street. And Pro Street is a style of car that is a street drivable car that is fully legal with headlights, turn signals, all that good stuff, but it's designed to look like an NHRA Pro Stock car, right? So Pro Stock was the original class. The Pro Street guys took the main ingredients from Pro Stock, including big giant rear tires and wheel tubs in the back, tires that had to tuck inside the body for that aerodynamics, small tires up front, big engine, and they modified those with wild graphics and other things to create this new style called Pro Street. The Pro Touring guys kind of lived a parallel universe. They took a stock car but added these high performance touring elements and then took the term Pro and just called it Pro Touring. So that's kind of where a Pro Touring car came from, and that's where the name started. The certain elements that comprise a legit Pro Touring car include a powerful engine, high-performance suspension, wheels and tires, oftentimes a high-performance seat, or at least a seat that is not stock, preferably a manual transmission, but a performance automatic, sometimes with the addition of a paddle shifter or some other type of shift enhancer, higher response steering, lower front spoilers and rear wings, and then some style elements inside, tilt wheel, creature comforts, and the fringe things that aren't required but are found on many Pro Touring cars include upscale surfaces like leather inside, high-performance audio, navigation, and then style elements like mirror glass paint, hood scoops, different side mirrors, flush glass, and other elements that are more commonly found on higher-end show cars. And there is kind of a parallel there too, because if you look at today's modern two-seat Ferrari Grand Touring cars, they incorporate those same elements. Now, there's really no rule for what car can be built into a Pro Touring car. Most of the time, they are done as pony cars, Camaros, Mustangs, and Firebirds and things of that ilk from the mid-1960s through the mid to late 1970s. You can do the larger cars, the Chevelles, Galaxies, Fairlanes, Pontiac GTOs. All of these certainly apply. Part of the recipe is that the car is kind of a smaller car to start with. You don't really see grand touring cars that were six-door limousines, or giant cars like that. So you can have some of the Pro Touring elements added to large cars, say 57 Chevys, by doing a performance chassis swap that incorporates those brakes, wheels, tires, and engine, but still keeps that package. And that kind of fits the bill, but generally we're talking about muscle cars and more specifically pony cars. Going the other way, chronologically and getting newer, we see Fox body Mustangs, third and fourth generation Camaros. These all fall into the realm of what a Pro Touring car can be. But is a brand new ZL1 Camaro a Pro Touring car? I guess kind of by definition, because it's got the engine, the suspension, the comfort, the performance, but it is more of a modern GT car. It already is a Grand Touring car, so it doesn't really have to be the Pro Touring style. It wasn't modified to be that. So having said all that, now we're going to touch on the Resto Mod category. And the term Resto Mod puts two words together, restored and modified. So what's a restored car? A restored car is a car that was obviously built new and used for many years, and at some point was brought back to its original condition through a restoration process. And this could have been anything from, freshening up the paint or all new interior, or a complete, frame off, rotisserie, fix every nut and bolt and make them all brand new type restoration. Now, to be a correct restored car, all those elements would have been brought back to the condition and the equipment that it had on day one down to the color. However, if you took some liberties and wanted to change some of those things to make the car perform better, then you're modifying the car. And today, people like to drive these cars a lot, so they do make performance modifications that enhance the drivability. A very popular modification is the addition of electronic fuel injection to an original engine, or even swapping in a more modern engine into an original chassis. Also adding a more modern transmission or a more modern high-performance brake system. So we're starting to see a few of the elements of a Pro Touring conversion, but the goal is a little different. On a Resto Mod car, the goal is to kind of keep the car looking stock original, but just improve its performance so that it's easier to drive and it's more manageable and it starts every day and it's more reliable. Whereas a Pro Touring car is more designed for high-speed, long-term, either road course track usage, highway usage, or even autocross competitions. So a Resto Mod car is not technically going to be as tuned or as competition-like as a Pro Touring car, but still have modifications. So looking at the scale, can a Pro Touring car be a Resto Mod? Absolutely it is. Is a Resto Mod a Pro Touring car? Not necessarily. So in this example, we're looking at a 1969 Chevrolet Camaro that has a beautiful restored appearance on the outside. It has modern fuel injection on a high-performance engine with a manual transmission. It's been lowered, and it's got different looking wheels and lower profile tires. So is it a Resto Mod? Absolutely. Is it a Pro Touring car? Well, not quite, because the suspension hasn't been optimized and improved to to handle parking lot autocross competitions or even weekend road course events, or to be designed as a long-term highway high-speed cruiser. So again, it's Resto Mod, but not necessarily Pro Touring. Now this 1968 Chevrolet Camaro that we called Reloaded checks all the boxes. It has a high-performance 490 cubic inch fuel-injected Chevrolet V8, a 4-speed automatic overdrive transmission, full Detroit speed tubular front and rear suspension with coilover shocks, upsized bare brakes, flow-formed forged rocket racing wheels on low-profile tires, a quick ratio steering box, a performance cooling system, and seats that are designed to keep the driver in place while going through high-speed turns. So this one is a Pro Touring car, and it is also a Resto Mod. So we've created a little grid that you can download on our website, and it lets you check all the boxes to see where your car falls. Is it stock restored? Is it Pro Touring? Is it a Resto Mod? Is it a Pro Street car? Or does it fit in some of the other classes like original, correct, or even a survivor? And while some people might say that this is all just semantics, I do believe it is important to know the terms and to use them properly so that when you're describing a car, maybe you're going to buy one or sell one or share it with a friend or get coverage on the internet or in a magazine, that it's defined properly so that people know what you're talking about and the car has everything it's supposed to have to fit that class. Here at the V8 Speed and Resto Shop, we build all kinds of cars, from stock originals to really high performance Pro Touring cars, or cool cars from the 50s and 60s that are Resto Mods with a few things to make them run and drive better. If you want help with yours, you can find us at v8speedshop.com, and we're happy to chat with you.